Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to those of you around the world. Welcome to the daily Trade the Chain crypto update, where we give you everything you need to know for the next 24 hours and hopefully the next few days. Today is Friday, April 21st, and we are rounding out the week as we speak. DXY is still quite muted. It's been pretty much in the same exact range all week. As you can see, Monday, very early morning, we tipped up to that 102.2 level and have basically been consolidating between 101.6 and 102.2 all throughout the week. So I don't think we're going to see a decision out of this until next week. We could sit flat here until PCE on Friday. That would definitely surprise me a little bit, but I think you will not see any break below 101.6 or break above 102.2 until next week. So I think this will be relatively muted. But we're still, of course, keeping an eye on this. The longer it consolidates around or above the 101.6 level, which also coincides with this low, the more I definitely think it's going to try and break up to 102.5, which obviously would not be beneficial for risk. And risk has obviously been trending flat or down across most markets. So we will continue to keep an eye on this, but nothing to glean or pull from it officially today. One thing I do want to mention is the PMI numbers today. Well, I guess they're not up here, but PMI actually came in above expected, which is typically good. But of course, when you're seeing data that shows the economy is improving, that's not exactly what the Fed wants. Remember, the Fed wants to decrease inflation, increase unemployment, and obviously slow down the economy to manage inflation and unemployment. So PMI coming in a little bit higher than expected today, although good for the economy. Not exactly what the Fed wants to see, and that's why we're seeing a little bit of downside action since the open this morning. So looking at equities, I think it's quite obvious. It's ugly. It's not very attractive. We obviously sold off into the evening last night. We pumped into the U.S. Open. We sold off. We pumped back. We sold off. We pumped back. So nothing really to glean. And this is why, if you're in the Trade the Chain community, I didn't give anything in the 41.30 to 41.14 range, because we're just going to be ranging in here, and anyone who's shorting and longing this is just asking, I think, for a very frustrating day. So in my opinion, you need to get above the previous, or you need to get above the, actually, let's zoom out to the 1 hour, because this is much more applicable on that time frame. So we need to get above the previous daily close. We really need to actually have a close above the 1 hour estimated 200 moving average. I think that's the first step. Then we need to get above the previous daily close, which we're hovering around now. If we can do that, then we can start attacking the VWAP and then possibly 41.45. If we cannot get above the previous daily close, we're just ranging in this area right here, which is obviously pretty horrible for trading. So if we break below 41.14, we're probably likely headed down to this batch of liquidity right here, which coincides with anywhere from right around 4100 all the way down to 4080. So of course, tough to find an exact science here in terms of where it will drop, but I would say if I was a betting man, I would say 4090 would be my number if we broke below 41.14. And again, if we can break above 41.30, then you can start targeting 41.45. But again, you also still have the weekly VWAP to act as resistance. So equities trading, I think, is going to be very difficult. I don't think you really need to be overzealously longing until you get a confirmed break higher. I don't think you need to really be shorting until you get a confirmed break lower. So this is a pretty gross price action, and something I would just suggest walking away from and maybe coming back on Monday, because I don't think you're going to get any serious movement out of this, and it's just going to be pretty gross volatility in my opinion. So knowing what we know about equities for Bitcoin, and typically if we do see a strong close or a decent close for equities on the weekend, then Bitcoin and crypto will have a decent weekend. Remember, equities do not trade over the weekend. Crypto is the only market that's trading all day Saturday, or all day Friday evening, Saturday and Sunday, of course. So the moral of the story for Bitcoin is a bit similar to equities in the sense that we are stuck in this little ugly range between 28.3 and 28K. We've obviously got a little deviation down there to act as stop support if you are longing. So the moral of the story here is basically break below 28K, start heading down to 27.2K. And just to zoom out, the reason I chose 27.2K is it starts to coincide with the lows of this range right here. So even though we were consolidating this entire time since the 28th, we were basically hovering above that 27.8K number, which obviously coincides a little bit with the deviation that we saw here. And the low of that area was about 27.2K. So, I'd say, maybe your first stop that you look for is maybe 27.6, 27.5, but just based on this low right here, that I'll circle really quickly, I think that this is probably where you'll end up dropping to. And that's of course, if we break below 28K. So I am currently not in any trade. I think, as long if equities can close, if equities don't break below 41.14 and can close above the 1 hour estimated 200 moving average by the end of the day, then I think definitely crypto is set up with the opportunity to rise. Whether it actually can get back above 28.3 is anyone's guess, but that is really what you have to do. So if we're just sitting in this range, I'm not taking any trades until we get above 28.3. Then I would start targeting maybe up to 28.8, as low as 28.6. And if we break below 28, I would probably be looking for a clean break below 27.8, because of course that could just be, sweeping the lows and heading higher. Want to be careful of that. But if you are longing here, this is pretty much where you'd set your stop. Pretty clean trade right there. And obviously you'd want to target this area as well as 28.6 and then 28.8 if you are longing. But to play it safe, you want to confirm the break above 28.3. And if you want to short, it's best to wait for a break below 28. So looking at ETH, just to start on the 4 hour here, because I think this is important. And I guess just to kind of give you a quick look at the BTC chart too, Bitcoin is just under the 4 hour estimated 200 moving average. So this could just be some deviation. We could definitely get back above it and reclaim it, but also it kind of coincides with the previous daily close as well. And we are trading under it, and we did just get rejected off of it a few times. So keep an eye on that 4 hour estimated 200 moving average, because if it can get above that, it coincides with the previous daily close. And if you get a 4 hour close above the estimated 200 moving average and the previous daily close, you've got a pretty good setup for mean reversion, possibly all the way back up to where the weekly VWAP is. So very much something to look out for there. Again, not bullish until we see our triggers. We trade on if-then statements. So if this happens, then we do that. There's no reason to just bounce into things just because certain levels are tagged, or price action has been bearish for several days. So we're going to play it safe, but just understand where everything is on the chart. 4 hour estimated 200 moving average is right around 28.2. And in my opinion, it needs to get above 28.3 to be confirmed bullish. It needs to confirm above 28.3 to be confirmed bullish. So looking at ETH, very similarly, ETH is above the 4 hour estimated 200 moving average, which coincides. The 4 hour estimated 200 moving average is exactly 1885. So something to keep in mind there. If we go back down to the hourly chart, we're definitely quite oversold. Doesn't really mean that we can't go lower though. So in my opinion, if we drop below 1900, then we're probably headed down to 1845, which is the low end of this previous range that we traded in back in early April, which we're already kind of trading in, which means, heading to the low seems quite natural if we continue to break down from here. And then there's really no clear signal for a long, in my opinion. But what you would look for is a close above 1915, which is, you got some flat opens here. And this is where you would need to form a higher high. Well, you really need your higher high would be formed, around 1940, but you need to confirm above 1915. 1916 to get up to 1940. So if you can confirm above 1916, then that's your precipice to 1940. And if you can obviously flip 1940, then you've got, you've got some gusto to head higher. You could obviously just get rejected at 1940. That could set a higher high, and then you set a higher low right here too, as long as it's above as long as it's above these lows. So like I said, nothing clear for ETH, but we're just planning out what we would like to see. So if we get below 1900, we're shorting, probably down to 1850, maybe lower. If you can get above 1915, we're longing to 1940. And then 1940 is a potential short rejection or reclaim and head back up to 1980. And of course, ETH is probably doing this if Bitcoin is, mean reverting to. But again, there's nothing in the charts that show me this is likely, and equities continue to look weak. So right now, I'm going to be completely honest, my bias is short. But again, if equities can close above the 1 hour estimated 200 moving average, and Bitcoin and Ethereum don't continue to plummet throughout the US session, then maybe we have a decent setup for a potential mean reversion into the weekend. So this is a very confusing area to trade. Prices have already dropped quite a lot. This is where you would expect longs. Economic data is not very positive. DXY is flat and ranging while things are decreasing. Equities don't look the best. So nothing right now is telling me to take a long. If anything, I would probably mentally gear yourself up for shorts, but I don't want anyone taking anything overzealous, because if you were shorting or longing yesterday, you weren't really making too much money, and you were probably having quite the headache trying to pick opportune entries and exits because of how tight this range is right here. So until we do something outside of this range, meaning expansion back into the prior range higher or expansion lower, that's what I'll trade. Until then, no trade, take it easy. This might even be a weekend where you can just take a break and come back Monday, because obviously it's going to be a little bit volatile. There's not going to be as many participants wanting to trade this. It's going to be a slow weekend, it's not been the best week for crypto trading. So when you kind of tie all that up and wrap it up in a nice bow, whenever we are overly bearish and crypto Twitter gets bearish and sentiments right now, just to show you what Bitcoin sentiment looks like, it's been quite bearish. And whenever we see sentiment in the 20 level, we start to look for reversals. It doesn't mean it's going to happen immediately, and we need to see some sort of curl happen, which obviously has not occurred yet, which is why I'm still a bit bearish. But this is when you would want to start thinking contrarian thoughts. So that's why we're giving both sides of the spectrum very clearly, so that you can make your own decision. So this could be another rejection off the 4 hour estimated 200 moving average that dips us back down into the low end of this range that we did not trade in before, or that we did not trade in after the 28th. So I have a feeling that that's likely what's to occur, but there's no decision to jump into a trade until you get your trade confirmation. The beauty of trading is that we can make these if-then statements, and we will wait until our ifs occur, and then we will act on our thens. So again, if you're not in the Trade the Chain community, you're missing out on at least 4 trades per day. Equities, DXY, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then of course we always cover other assets as long as there's opportune trades available. So Monday through Friday, we're parking trades in the Trade the Chain community. If you're not in there, you are missing out, and we would love to have you in there and have you join our global community of traders and experts. So good luck, happy trading. See everybody Monday. Have a fantastic weekend.